On this episode of DC On Screen, we are talking about the Arrow Season 7 finale, and also Season 7, right after this.
We all love the low country lifestyle, which is why we should do our best to protect it. To get insurance that helps you protect your home from whatever the low country throws at you, contact CT Lowndes & Company today. Their local agents can review your coverage to help make sure you're properly protected. CT Lowndes & Company has been helping protect and insuring the Low Country since 1850. Visit ctlowndes.com to learn more and request a quote. That's ctlowndes.com.
You think of Earth as a singular planet. In fact, it is anything but. For this is a story not of a universe, but a multiverse. Where universes and planets, such as Earth, were replicated and mirrored across a vibrating, infinite plane. Some barely different from the next. Others drastically so.
This is DC On Screen. Every week, Dave and Jason talk about the multiverse of DC properties on film and television. But be warned, if it's been officially released, you can expect they'll spoil it.
Welcome into DC On Screen. I'm your host, David C. Robertson. This is my co-host, Jason Goss.
Hello.
So, right up front, I want to say I love that the end of this of Season 7 is called You Have Saved the City.
Yeah.
I thought that's a nice tie-in.
No, that's perfect.
Because this episode and the showrunner did talk about what their intentions were, and this episode very much is a series finale. It is the end of the show as we know it.
Yeah. And it also buries the lead really hard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can watch this episode, and for the first, it's about 43 minutes, for the first 33 minutes or so, it just feels like an episode of Arrow, where at the end of the 33 minutes, they kind of sum up and retire the series.
And in the first, several minutes, first 30 or, 15 to 20 minutes, I would say, aren't even a particularly good episode of Arrow. Like, I kind of felt like it was appropriate in some ways for them to go out on something like that, because that, spoilers up until the point where Emiko dies, I kind of felt like, yep, that's an Arrow episode.
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
I feel like a dick for saying it that way, but
well, they've got a couple things that are slightly different, but it's mostly like the major takeaways from the first part of the episode are, I'll just go through my little mental list. One, they're supposed to be arrested and they all jump off the roof. Mm-hmm. It was a cool shot. I enjoyed that part. And also, whoever had them later when the building's exploding after Emiko dies, Emiko, and Oliver swings through the smoke and lands safely. That was one of the best shots I've seen this season, maybe in Arrow in general. That was fantastic.
Yes. Agreed.
One of the things we know, though, is Zeta Project being involved in general. That's pretty cool. That's a cool shout out. I like that they brought that in.
That made me really happy, yeah.
Yeah. So, and the fact that it was so dire, this face melting bacteria kind of thing, and getting to see a little bit of the flotsam and jetsam from that was pretty cool too. Mm-hmm. So it was a little bit dark, it was a little bit gruesome. Getting to see the future versions of these people. The stuff they're doing in the flash forwards is, I'm pretty interested. They wrapped up that story pretty well. If I never saw them again, I would think, okay, this ends well and I can live with it. But they did do pretty good job of fleshing out these people as these are, future versions of the Arrowverse that I could deal with, as far as they're capable and they're kind of fun.
They're capable, but they're not fun. To me, I pretty quickly came to hate every future scene. I wasn't interested in the storyline. While she was cute, I did not like Mia. Mm-hmm. I thought she was.
I don't think you're supposed to like Mia.
Yeah, she's just one of those characters where she's always got the snark, just always saying something shitty to somebody.
Because episode 1 of Arrow, you don't like that asshole.
I did. I liked him.
It took me a few episodes to like that dude. All the parkour is one thing, but actually liking Oliver Queen, it takes a minute in the course of the series, and it makes sense to me that Mia is kind of an asshole.
Yeah, I didn't care for her. I thought William was bland at best. And I have
William has a lot that Like, William is one of those where they showed glimpses of him being an extraordinary character, and they kind of just pull him in. Like, they keep him right at the perimeter of being amazing, and they just don't completely execute that. And in times they make him impotent where they shouldn't.
I don't know what they're doing with Roy in the future, and I also don't know.
Oh, they don't explain it.
I know they don't explain it, and I don't
They
know
make
if
a
they're
point
gonna.
that they don't explain it.
I know. He's like, that's a long story. And I'm like, okay, I'm looking at the season 8 synopsis that they've just released. And the season 8 synopsis is, in the wake of discovering what his future holds, Oliver will find himself pit against his most challenging battle yet, one that will leave the multiverse hanging in the balance. In Arrow's final season, God, Oliver Queen is forced to confront the reality of what it means to be a hero. I don't know if they're going to be able to fit things like other characters doing things into the show, or how that's going to mix. I am interested in how Roy got to that island, or what the hell he's doing anyway.
I think they economized it. My personal bet, I think they economized it and just said, we don't have to deal with that, and wrote in a line where they just don't have that on the table anymore. Because when you look at how they wrapped up the story, the future is what it is. I mean, they've already got that, and they've got Felicity going into this little, she gets her own journey, and I don't exactly know what that entails. Like, I mean, those two saying goodbye was fucking emotional, man. I mean, that was rough. And Oliver in particular going in to say goodbye to his infant daughter, fucking, I've got a 6-month-old. That hurt me. But I don't know what to do with the story exactly. Like, I don't know how cosmic it's going to be.
When they hear that noise and Oliver walks around the corner and looks up to see the monitor standing there, like, Amel killed it. The way he looked when he said, "I thought I had more time."
Oh God, yeah, I wrote down that line, man.
Like,
fuck.
Yeah, like, that changed the show. Like, I enjoyed the flash forward, like the montage.
The montage of the time and the birth and all that. That was great.
Absolutely.
It was really rewarding.
All of that was great, and places that point of the episode to about the point where we will be when the crossover is happening next year.
Right.
I was happy as a lark with all of that. And even subsequently, when you look into, like, what does it mean in the future when Felicity sees the monitor and says, I've waited to see him for so long. Like, where is he taking her? Is Oliver really dead, or is he in some sort of pocket dimension or something? Or does the monitor have access to heaven or hell or some limbo or something?
Yeah.
What's happening?
I don't know. There's a lot on that. There's nothing. I mean, there's no decisive factor. Like, I don't know why Felicity's going to join him, but we know because her contract says she's done. She's not necessarily going to come back. Pedowitz said in the last few days that if it fits, she'll come back. But
well, that's with everybody on the show, really.
Yeah, I mean, she's not at all a guarantee. I mean, even the 7 or 8 episodes we have, she's not necessarily guaranteed it in any capacity. That may be the last you see of Felicity Smoke, is her going in with the monitor.
Or I'm gonna be mad as a fan.
that may be it, man. That may be the call. I don't know what her journey means, and I don't know if it means anything kind of with and or versus Oliver's journey. Because apparently he has to go on this journey where, for all we know right now, he is going to die. But several years later, the monitor shows up, and she goes on her own journey, and she just wants to see him again. We don't know if somehow that adds and subtracts from the cosmic balance. And maybe she takes his place. And Oliver can come back in some capacity. Yeah,
I don't want that. I want, wherever they are, I want them to be together. And that just be the end of that story.
I would like that to be the end of that story.
I want that. I want them to be together, and I want them to be able to rest.
Yeah.
No more of this life.
Yeah, but at the same time, they can't completely rest until they know in the future that William and Mia are okay. And I like that they made that a theme for this episode, was like the last promise of Ollie was, or the last request of Ollie was just make sure they're safe.
Well, she said, though, before she left, like, she feels like they are more than capable of keeping themselves safe now.
Yeah.
And of being the next generation of heroes, which
for sure.
I would love for that to just happen in our minds, because I don't want to see a show about them.
Not necessarily, no. I mean, I'm not that bought into it. I like it as an idea, but I'm not so bought in that I want that series.
Yeah, which I suspect this next season they're not going to be able to get away. Like, I think we will see that long story, or glimpses of that long story of how Roy got to that island and what happened with Thea. I think we will see what exactly happened with Bronze Tiger, that John wound up adopting Connor. Because when Bronze Tiger shows up this episode, I go like, oh, he gonna die, and then he didn't. So I was like, okay.
No, instead he sliced his way through the episode.
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah. So I'm totally excited about what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
This season, I felt like the first half of this season was the strongest Arrow has ever been. I loved everything where he was in prison. All of that was really tight.
Yeah.
When it came back from the mid-season break, it was maybe the worst season of Arrow.
No, I mean...
You didn't get that?
It sagged a little bit, but it wasn't the worst.
I didn't like Emiko. I
like the idea of her. And
I like the idea of her a lot.
I wish they had... Like, I like the idea of her the way I liked the idea of Dragon. Like, it was a good idea. They had a good actor doing it, and they had a lot of time to flesh that out. Like, Didn't they literally have an episode titled The Dragon?
Mm-hmm. And that was a fantastic episode.
Yeah.
Maybe my favorite episode of Arrow.
And it was a cool turn later where they had the reveal that she was in charge of the Ninth Circle or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It was a cool turn. And it was a cool turn later when I actually got to see them fight alongside each other. And then I really enjoyed, actually, their story arc. It just felt like... if they'd had more time to dig into it, maybe there was more to it. But as far as... here's the weird part. Emotionally, maybe I didn't have time to tie into it, but they really did a lot to make this make sense. I mean, her actually being the cause of Robert Queen's death. That's fucking... that butt fucks the entire rest of the series, man. That is a huge deal. Like, the fact that that's a real thing. And then they have this giant face-off, which, by the way, when those two have faced off in this series, and they've had their little arrow fights, the arrow fights between those two have been just fantastic to watch. Them, glancing off arrows and being closer to each other at each turn. Like, the chess match of them throwing arrows at each other has been really fun to watch. But the payoff later, when she's talking about, everything he did destroyed my life, and then pretty much Oliver saying, yeah, me too. Everything my father did has been the worst moment of my life, replayed over and over again. We're in the same boat. And then they actually have a moment where they decide that they're on the same side. Like, she has a really rewarding arc. I don't know why it doesn't feel like that, but she has one, technically.
So you admit that it doesn't feel like that?
I don't know why it doesn't feel like that.
Well, I disagree. I don't think she's very good. I don't think she's a very good actor.
I don't think it was up to her at all on that one. I just...
Maybe not.
The momentum of the season, for some reason, didn't seem like that. And what's weird to me is it should have. Like, it should be a huge turn. And it actually did feel like a huge turn when it was... no, wait... Big betrayal. She's the head of the Ninth Circle, and Dante can fuck himself, and she was in charge the whole time. I don't know why it didn't hit so hard.
I think what they were going for is they set up an idea where we all collectively thought, oh, Ollie's gonna die. Oh, this new Green Arrow, because a lot of us, thought it might be Emiko, and I think we were in some ways expecting, some of us, I thought it was certainly a possibility, thought that she might be taking over for Ollie at the end of this season, and maybe they would continue the show without him, but with her. I think they were trying to deliver on a turn, that it was all a big red herring, like she's part of the Ninth Circle and blah, blah. I just never cared. I didn't like her. I didn't like how they chose to portray her, whether that was the actor's fault or the writing's fault. And I felt like they just sort of tried to cram in, and they did. They tried to cram in like an entire story arc for a character into half of a season and make me care about it, while also, examining or re-examining why Ollie is a hero and what that means, which they do that every year. Every year he struggles with, should I kill? Should I not? And here we are again, where he's like, I think I need to kill her. She did this and this. And then, Mind Tommy is telling him, no, you blah, blah, blah. You can't do that. It's just, that's tiresome to me. Like, pick one or the other, Ollie. If you're going to be someone else, be something else, then do it, and stop like every few episodes you come up with another reason why you should or shouldn't kill somebody. Like, just do or don't. Just be that guy or don't do that. Like, I don't understand what the big moral conundrum is at this point, and I don't care about it anymore. You see what I'm saying?
The thing that they've done well is in the field of ethics and morality, like to kill or not to kill versus the consequences is tomes long as far as what have people written about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it should be. It's a complicated subject.
Well, sure, but in the interest of this character, this is a thing that this guy has gone back and forth on. So just like he's gone back and forth on lying to protect his friends, and I didn't tell you the truth because I was trying to protect you. And over and over again, everyone tells him, dude, don't do that shit. Just tell me the truth.
Question concerning that. It's been a problem for us in general with Arrow. Like, you just need to tell people the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's been a lot of character growth there where he normally does tell people the truth. And as far as killing goes, I think they've gotten more and more concise about their arguments about when he should kill. Like, in this one, they literally make him defend his position about whether to kill one person.
Mm-hmm.
Versus previous seasons where he's arguing about whether to kill in general, or whether that's not even on the table, and we're not even talking about that. We're just trying to save the city. So I think the conversation has gotten more refined and more sophisticated.
I think at the end of the day, while I understand that there's a lot of nuance to the should a good guy kill or not conversation, I feel like it is a conversation that Arrow has had more than enough. And we certainly didn't need an entire episode dedicated to it where he's like talking to imaginary Tommy.
Yeah.
It's just time better spent someplace else.
Yeah. I mean, it made sense for them.
I like the idea that Emiko is sort of like the path not taken. Emiko was, the person Oliver could have been had he continued down his season 1 path. I like the idea of it, but I didn't like the execution of it. I don't think we had enough time with Emiko. I think if Emiko had been around for a couple of seasons at least, and we had grown to care about her, that would be a different story. A good example of that is I actually kind of feel like we got that with Earth 2 Laurel. Like,
yeah,
I
some
feel
kind
like,
of redemption arc there.
I felt like we got a nice little redemptive arc for her.
Same time though, like Emiko was, and her plan, it wasn't necessarily like Arrow or Oliver's season 1. I mean, yeah, she wanted to kill, but she was the undertaking. Like, they did a bookend of season 1 versus season 7 of what if we just did the undertaking again?
Mm-hmm.
New group, new plan, all that. And then if you look forward into what they were going to do in the, Generation 2 Arrowverse,
yeah,
it was just, let's kill the Glades again.
Yep.
Which was
I didn't
fun
care
in
for that
certain
either.
ways.
It was fine in certain ways, and there was a nice bookend to it, but it also felt so terribly redundant.
The one thing I liked about it was it felt very Green Arrow. Like, Green Arrow has always been this fight for the underdog character.
Mm-hmm.
And for this series to sum itself up in a way that where they went back and like did a triple take almost on what if we just kill the poor, like the old
the Mitchell and Webb
the Mitchell and Webb bit. What if we just kill the poor? If we go back on that take on it, I kind of like it in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
That they've done this several times and over again. The show Arrow is against, like, no, we should not be we shouldn't take the fight to the poor and try to make some elitist culture,
Right.
like this Elysium kind of feel to it. This like Brave New World is no, fuck that shit.
Like, no villains. We don't need to destroy. We don't need to kill the poor. No Ollie. We don't need to kill the villains. The only thing we need to kill is Renee's future wig.
And we're fine. We'll be great that way.
Oh man, that thing was hard to look at.
It was. Also, I don't know where they some of the aging effects they used this season were hard to reconcile.
Yeah, they were. But Renee's freaking wig, it looked like a cat like threw up a hairball on top of his head.
I just thought it was a cat. just a cat. Like a large cat,
Right.
but a cat.
It's like did Renee go to a shop called Dues by Trump? That was bad.
Cheeto makeover.
Also, you know what? I felt like the actress playing Renee's daughter in the future just did not resemble his daughter in the present at all in acting or physicality. Like,
You know, I didn't compare that, but what I did like was she had one moment on the elevator when she comes up and she just says duck. I like that girl.
yeah, she wasn't bad as far as like her acting or anything. She just didn't act or look anything like his daughter in present timeline, and that was distracting for me. I never bought it because we've seen his daughter for like 2 seasons now.
Maybe, but same time, when you're 10 years old versus 17, you act and look entirely different.
Not that different.
Yeah, that different.
I don't think so.
Oh yeah.
I've seen pictures of myself and of Ken. Like, you can still tell it's that person.
David, you look entirely different.
No, I don't.
I once knew you. At 10 years old, you look like a tiny hobbling gargoyle child.
What?
So overall, the season was pretty impressive in a lot of ways. It started strong as a very terrestrial tale and ended with a fucking monitor. Mm-hmm. You got to give it credit for that.
I will say I did like that about the show, like about the finale, where they did kind of end Arrow on its own terms, as you put it, in a terrestrial way, like street level type of.
Like literally, there's a moment where he's just sitting there with tears on his cheeks in the darkened like Arrow cave. We'll call it. Like in the bunker. That scene that meant a lot to me to see him like that.
And as those
accepting.
lights went out around him and closed out on him, that was really powerful.
That was.
Liked that.
Oh, and also after Diggle delivers a line like leaving behind a cycle of heroes.
Mm-hmm.
After all the talk they'd had about like the cycle of violence and all that, fucking that, and then them talking about how Diggle can, say what he wants and all. That was a cool scene. That was a really good scene. Those three, specifically those three just sitting there talking, that was great.
And the wrapping up OTA, Original Team Arrow, if you don't know.
Obviously.
And having Diggle make that statement about the cycle of heroes. The way they had it positioned in the episode was a nice transition into what we get at the end, where like we kind of like have a bit of a wrap / segue into the larger cosmic portion of this universe that that Arrow started. So not only did they do their bit where this like street level, but we're also getting like a nod to what they have wrought.
Yeah. I love that they book in that.
Mm-hmm. I almost wish that there weren't 10 more episodes.
No, I want them to wrap this up.
I kind of think they did, though.
They did. They really did. But I'm really looking forward to a few episodes, see where they go. They certainly opened it up. And, if this was the last episode we ever saw, it'd be great. But it also exists within a universe where they've got this entire playbook. They have so much more story to tell. And I love the fact that they involved the Monitor, because that to me signifies that they're looking to really tell this story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let us know what you guys thought. I'm interested. I'll hear you out. I'll be your shoulder.
Of course. All right.
And your bent ear. All right.
Ready to call it?
Sure.
See you next year.
Yep. For 10 episodes. Yes. All right, guys. Keep some DC on your screen.
Bye.
Our opening narration was from Dan Jurgens' The History of the DC Universe, Part 3 of 10, as featured in DC 52, Week 4. It was performed by me, David C. Robertson. Intro music by Jason Goss and Michael Shackelford. Michael's band, Future Elevators, could be found on Spotify or future-elevators.com. Our introduction was performed by Effie Oppelders of the fantastic podcast Stealing the Remote, which lives on SoundCloud. It can also be found on iTunes and Stitcher. We are proudly in partnership with TV Time, the TV show calendar and social media site that lets you keep track of what you're watching, what your friends are watching, and where you all left off. DC On Screen is a Maladjusted production. Visit maladjusted.tv for more from me and Jason, including sketch comedy, an improvised web series, vlogs, parodies, and more.
Are